everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, now made by Disney, or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it, Legends. Today I have for you Republic issues 64 to 68, and a Clone Wars Adventures 2003 comic, and the second half to Secrets of the Jedi by Jude Watson. So, starting with Republic issue 64, some big, they're really small little cameos, but some big EU references in here, which we'll talk about in spoilers. They're not a big deal, but I'd rather you just experience it for yourself if you don't know it, because I knew the story of this comic, but I had no idea about the things, about the two little references in here, which I was like, yeah, so giddy about. But the main plot of this issue, it's a little one-off. We're back to the Senate. We start off seeing this big battle, and then we get kind of flashbacks. Because at the end of this battle, this Jedi dies saying he knows this is the end, and a droid shoots him down dead. I love this. These two Jedi, everybody's heard about what Dooku has said because Obi-Wan has repeated it. Everything has been so chaotic with this war that there hasn't been really time to deal with this, which I'm beating around the bush, which is there a Sith in the Senate? And so they have the idea of, well, why don't we just test all the politicians for a midichlorian count? Now, of course, it's kind of like getting a shot, like you shouldn't have to be forced to do that. So how do you encourage people to do that? Well, if you have the head of state, Chancellor Palpatine, be the first one to volunteer, well, then everyone else will probably follow in suit. At least a good portion will, not everyone. And so they're hoping that would help. Of course, Palpatine can't have that happen because he is a Sith Lord. So Palpatine says he'll think it over, and they could probably do it when they get back from their next mission. As they go on their next mission, Palpatine asks Sidious, make sure that they bombard this planet with as many forces as possible. He tells Count Dooku, these two Jedi need to be dead. They cannot return to take a test on my body. And so they die, and I loved it. It also connects to the Darth Plagueis novel, with certain characters and stuff. And overall, I just thought it was a really good little one-off comic. It was really fun to just, because, 90% of the time, Palpatine is playing his chess game. He knows everything. This threw a wrench in his plans. This would be a really big problem if somebody actually found out, of course. So, seeing him have to, kind of improvise on the spot and, get rid of two people who could actively destroy everything he's been working for was actually really cool. But that's pretty much issue 64. Issue 65 and 66. The Bounty Hunters Guild, or a section of the Bounty Hunters Guild, has been hired to start killing Jedi. Now, one of the biggest rules of the Bounty Hunters Guild is you don't mess with the Jedi because it's just bad for business. But this section of the Bounty Hunters Guild has decided to go ahead and do that. So we have Mace Windu kicking butt and stopping it. And at the very end, getting to see Quinlan again. He now dons his red... I think he's donned his red lightsaber before, but he's just actively using that and kills some people by the end of it. So, is Quinlan evil? That's the big question going back and forth between this. Yeah, and then we get to Republic issue 67, Ptsd. The overall story of this comic is not super important or anything. It just shows how this is affecting Anakin. Especially the Battle of Jabiim arc in the comics. And, I think you could even make this work with TCW and stuff. Here's the thing. First, he loses his mother. He loses. Well, he also loses Yaddle. Not that he was super close to Yaddle or anything, but that was something he prevented, or that he couldn't prevent from happening. And at the same time, he wasn't super duper close to any of the Padawans on Jabim, but it's the fact that they were young like him, and that he knows how powerful he is, and yet he couldn't stop the massacre that was Jabim. And so this affects him a lot. So we have another young Jedi on this mission, willing to sacrifice her life, and Anakin just doesn't want to have anybody do that anymore. He wants to save everybody, but it's literally impossible. And it just shows, he's experienced this loss. He's dealing with the PTSD of that battle. And when we get to episode 3 with Padme, that's the final straw. Like, just the possibility of having her go away, no, that cannot happen. I mean, you get that enough even by just watching 2 and 3 with his mother and his wife. But if you see everything that's gone on in the Clone Wars and you've seen what he's been through, it's like, man, he can't have the person closest to him also go away from him, because he's lost so many already. It doesn't matter how close to those people he was or not, he keeps losing people. He keeps being unable to save people. Even in the issue with with Ashrod Het, there was the Padawan to Ashrod Het who dies, and Anakin's like, no, you should have been there to save him, because he just doesn't want to lose anyone. And I think you can make the case that with the TCW, if you're doing it my way, where you put it furthest chronologically in the timeline to that like final year, there's been 2 years of darkness in Anakin's life. And the one light that kind of shines back in, because Padme is like the light, but he hardly ever gets to see her because he's constantly in war. Who he sees more often is Ahsoka. So if you're counting that show, it could explain some of the more lightheartedness, because Anakin's been going further and further, dark, dark, dark. And then you have this palate cleanser for a bit, something that kind of brings it back more toward the light side for a little bit longer with Ahsoka, because it brings out the light in Anakin. Of course, also when she's in danger and when his friends are in danger, the darkness seeps back in. But you can make the case that that's why there's a lighter tone in TCWs, because Anakin's heart in of itself is a bit lighter with the help of Ahsoka. And then as soon as she goes away, right back to how he was before he met her, which was on a hard path. But anyway, I really enjoyed this issue, and I thought it was great. Issue 68. Oh boy. So, again, it's another Quinlan focused arc. We also have this cool clone trooper. That might be the one that shoots her in episode 3. Don't quote me on that, but he seems to be wearing similar armor. And by her, I mean Ayla Secura, because she's, of course, is in this issue as well. And I mean, the best part about this is how he actively seems to believe, like he truly believes he has not made that final step to the dark side. He has not embraced the dark side. Everything he's doing is just to trick Dooku, and he has to do certain things to gain Dooku's trust. He has to gain Dooku's trust so he can find out about the Sith in the Senate. He needs to find out the truth. Who's the big baddie? Because he knows Count Dooku isn't it. He knows that Darth Maul, who died 10 years ago, was not it, that there is somebody higher that he needs to find and kill. And he's hoping with getting closer and closer to Count Dooku that will finally happen. But he keeps seeping further and further into the dark side to do this, but he keeps claiming that I have not fallen. And so that whole issue is really good too. There are some cool things I want to mention, but I don't want to mention them here because I think they're really cool to just see. It's not big things again, but it's just cool to have the reference, and I want you to experience it for yourself. After that, we have the 2003 Clone Wars Adventures Volume 5, Heroes on Both Sides. This is a fun little thing. Grievous has the droids doing stuff on this planet. There's some clone troopers there trying to stop it. There's also the native people of that planet that are fighting with the Separatists. And By the end of it, it seems like they're going to self-destruct and blow up a huge chunk of the place. But the clone trooper shoots down the like last surviving member of the, at least in the army, of the native people, and that seemed to be the plan all along. Make the clone look like the bad guy or whatever. So, but they had no intention of actually blowing anything up. But that was a pretty okay one, short and sweet. Now we get to the secrets of the Jedi, the second half. The first half, of course, I talked about in the past, but if you're a normal person reading it chronologically, the first half is, of course, during the Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan years, and shows how Obi-Wan and Ciri's relationship blossomed into something romantic, but was stopped short because of their obligations to be Jedi. Fast forward 20 years, going past the Jedi Quest series, entering into the Clone Wars, this story takes place. This does a good duality of focusing on Obi-Wan and Ciri and Anakin and Padme. And I thought this story was absolutely phenomenal. I don't want to get into spoilers, but it was overall really good. Wrapped things up nicely for Jude Watson with these characters. And yeah, there is a death in this book, and me saying that might make you automatically know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to spoil it regardless. But yeah, it was overall a really good read. And that is it, guys, for this video. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Sharing ups at a time. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you don't want spoilers, now's the time to go. If you're a veteran or don't care about spoilers, go ahead and stick around. But for the rest of you, have a good day and night, wherever you are. I'm going to get into spoilers. You've been warned. Leave now, unless you don't care. So, issue 64. What was so crazy that I didn't want to mention during spoilers? Just the fact that during all this, Pelion shows up. That's right, Pelion, who works for the Republic at this point, much like Admiral Yularen in the TCWA. Of course, you know, there's the whole thing where, like, Filoni miscategorized what he was in episode 4 because he doesn't understand anything. But ignoring that, it was really cool. I mean, it was literally just like a panel or two, but it was still, or like a page or two, but it's still really cool to see Pelion. For those of you who don't know, the Thrawn trilogy and onward, Pelion becomes one of the biggest characters in the Star Wars expanding universe. Pelion is like the boy, the man. We love Pelion over here. I'm a big Pelion lover. He's a great character. And we'll see far more of him in the future, but it was cool to get a little reference to him, a little cameo by him. And then the only other thing is this in a little tiny box, is where Dooku currently is when we switch to him in this comic, which is on Bakura. For those of you who don't know, Truce at Bakura is the first novel chronologically that takes place literally like a day or two after the events of episode 6 in the Star Wars expanding universe. So the fact that we got to see that planet in the comics, even for just a second, was really cool. Skipping ahead to issue 68, two amazing things that again go back to the Thrawn trilogy, with first being on Honogor, or however the fudge you say it. It's the Nogri planet. That's what they're on. And we get to even see some of the Nogri. They get to fight the Jedi. We see how terrifying they are, how strong they are, how good of warriors they are. And just the fact that we get to see this race that started off on the Thrawn trilogy is really, really cool. And then the only other thing was the Rakata reference, that there are some ancient structures left on this planet that are from the Rakata. Now we're getting into the Old Republic timeline with the Knights of the Old Republic games. If you're going even further back with what John Ostrander would make, we have the Dawn of the Jedi comics with the Rakata. And that's awesome. And of course, the Nogri kind of like see that as like a worshipping site. But it's all just really cool to have those two big connections. We have post-episode 6 content connections, and old Republic connections all in this issue. Again, it's nothing crazy. Maybe I'm hyping it up bigger than it is, but just the fact that's in this comic is really cool. In Secrets of the Jedi, the second half, we learn that after Ferris, because at the end of Jedi Quest, Ferris leaves the Order, that Siri never took a Padawan on after that. And I just thought that was interesting. The biggest thing to mention here, of course, being Siri's death. Siri dies at the end of this book. Makes sense. She's not around in episode 3. But yeah, it just seems like Obi-Wan has the worst luck. Even if you're just including this, if you just completely yeet TCW 2008 from your headcanon, he's still, I mean, at this point they're just trying to be best friends, but still, this is somebody he deeply cared about, and he lost her. If you are counting TCW as well, he loses her, Siri, and he loses Satine. That's 2 people he deeply cared about that he loses. And then shortly after that, he's going to lose Anakin. So it's just beat after beat after beat, loss after loss after loss. But yet Obi-Wan never turns to the dark side like Anakin. But yeah. I mean, this is a character that Jude Watsons created and then got rid of. And, I mean, it sucks, but it makes sense. Again, it makes me 50-50 with TCW, with having Satine being somebody that he would have left the Order for. Since we have so many books with Siri, to just have this character we've never heard of before that Obi-Wan desperately cares for. Now, I think it was directed well. I think it was done well. But then you also have the issues with the Mandalorians and everything that pisses me off. Don't get me wrong, I like Satine and everything. It's just that I've had more time with Siri. And so it sucks to see her go. But I guess we'll see how I feel about Satine again when I go through everything again later on. But that's pretty much it, guys. Next, I have a couple short stories and Jedi Trial for you, where Anakin will finally be knighted chronologically. So, I hope you all join me for that. And until next time, guys, may the Force be with you.